Hello, everyone. I decided to skip the intro today because it takes up too much time and there's too much to cover. Hopefully, everything will work out with my live stream today and there shouldn't be any mass reporting of anything. Time will tell. Time will tell. It is Tuesday, I think, the 18th of August, and I'm only a few minutes late. Yay. I've got a lot to cover today. It looks like there's been quite a few shenanigans in the last week that I haven't been on. I've been rather tied up recently, so I haven't been able to do a live, and I'm not really one to come on and broadcast nothing either. So I'll start with my hellos. Actually, no, first I'm going to start and tell you what I have on the agenda for today. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is I happened to be watching a live earlier today, and someone's moderator mentioned that I insinuate that I work closely with the RCMP, that I know more than the RCMP. Um, I know what I know. I don't know what the RCMP know. I would love to know what they know, but I don't. They don't tell me anything. They do not communicate with me in a two-way fashion. I am a citizen sleuth, and that is all. And by fluke, Cheryl invited me to Daniel's court. I attended and we became friends. That is the history of mine and Cheryl's marriage. So I'm starting out with that. That is my warning to everyone out there to stop saying that I say that I'm affiliated. I'm not. I'm not a confidential informant. I'm just a normal citizen. RCMP don't tell me anything. And in fact, they don't tell anybody anything, including dog handlers. So we're going to discuss today the email that Bob sent to Belynda in response to me because he didn't bother sending it to me, even though he had no problem corresponding with me for months. So we'll go over that. We'll dissect every word of that. And we'll go over Cheryl's response to the absolute BS that came out of that email. I will go over my previous emails from Bob, the dog handler, and you can maybe start putting two and two together for yourselves. As I said, I come with receipts and I don't say anything unless there's something behind it. So we'll talk a bit about Belynda and why she got blocked. There seems to be some confusion as to why she got blocked the other day. We'll unpack it. We'll talk a bit about who Belynda surrounds herself with, a bit about Cody, and we'll go into Darren's threat against me on Hidden in the Fog and his newest narrative about Michelle Glasgow. Anybody has a connection to Michelle Glasgow, you might want to have her listen into his candid statements. Wondering what happened with Anita. We're going to go over some interesting information that came out on dispersing the fog. And if I have time, I'm going to go over a video about coercive control. So let's say hello. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom just to make sure there's no issues with my audio or anything. Okay, perfect. All right, so beginning, nurse was the first one in the house, burning bush. My wonderful mod is here, the drone grid. Yeah, he had no problem self-identifying, so that is great. Thank you for being here. I see you've all been discussing the interesting story that came out yesterday from Bob. And I see that my wonderful mod also picked up on some pretty interesting contradictions where he said that he didn't know Belynda before, but then mentions in his email that he was speaking to Belynda in January of this year. So that's a bit of a contradiction. Kelly OG in the house, good to see you. Always a pleasure. Camilla, hello. And I see you had a great conversation. Good. Okay. Patricia Greer, good to see you. Sorry to hear you're sick. Hopefully it is just allergies. You had your 5th grandchild. Wow. Congratulations. Cynthia, bro, I never watch any YouTube before Jack and Lilly. This is what started me, but let me tell you, this case is something. Absolutely. I also came into the true crime world for this case, and it has been eye-opening. So perhaps we will bring this up on the stage so everyone can see. So Bob can see, so Charmaine can see, so Belynda can see, and I will read Cheryl's response that she sent to Bob. Or maybe we should go over what he said first, just so we can have some context. So we'll jump into that first, Cheryl, but I'm glad you set the record straight. It was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever heard, considering I was standing there next to you both times that you met Bob, and never was Cheryl Wozniak's name ever mentioned. He literally pulled that out of his ass, or Belynda's, one or the other. Yeah. Sherry Lee Thomas, how's the KOA? Session 0. Nice to have my wife in the house, yes. Lori, Nova Scotia, good to see you. I know you're looking forward to getting a bit of information on the shenanigans. Janice Potty, good to see you. Hope you realized I wasn't talking about you. It was another Janice the other night. Stella M, long time no see. Artemisia Sage, good to see you. T. Wallalin. Tammy, good to see you. Cool J. Nobody is more excited for this than Mock. You know it. I look forward to hearing all about the video that they make of me tomorrow. JJ57, long time no see. Longing Hearts. Callie's got her Marlboros. Good. We will be having an intermission because this will get rather hot. Liz, Nova Scotia Strong. Glad to see you as well. Artie Man, how you doing? Happy birthday for the other day. Yeah. I'm sure he'll come up to the desk another time. Bob, are you in here? I want to know the reasoning behind your lies. Yeah. Yep. Is Share Care in here? Yeah. Because she blocked you after this crap came out as well. Yes. Daisy May, good to see you. All right. Welcome in, everyone. Yeah, you better smudge. You better smudge. Sheila, good to see you. Acadian girl, good to see you. Long time no see. Shalana Lama, hey. Hope you're keeping well. I think my father's daughter. Hello. That's a new name. Janet Wilson, Sue Oilers. Just gonna listen. Yeah, no problem. Happy Turtle. It's gonna be a spicy show. Yes, it is. Jacob Parker. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. Miss TP333. Squid. Where the F have you been? You just like fell off the radar or something. Oh, well, there was some analogies made earlier today that Bob is basically Durwood with a dog. So I was switching it up from Kentwood to Bobwood. It kind of has a good ring to it. Ah, yes. Ariel Sasha, good to see you. Yeah, no, it wasn't you, Janice. It was another Janice. Nova Scotia 1908, good to see you. Full house tonight, awesome. Valerie Fralick, this is your first rodeo in true crime. Eye-opening, it is. Mama Bear, good to see you as well. I am good, Shalana Lama. I'm very good. I'm very good indeed. All right. No one, including myself or Cheryl, um, thinks that she hasn't done anything. We know how much she has done for Jack and Lilly. What was really disappointing was her calling Cheryl and Malaya bitches based on what Bob the dog handler had to say. That was disappointing to say the least, and Ernestine Oakley calling them lying bitches as well, and why that's allowed to take place. But hey, Emerald Jane, good to see you. Life's been lifing. Need to take a time to look after myself. Absolutely. Been trying to catch up in the shadows. Well, it's good to have you back and paying attention. Squiddo. Explorer Core, good to see you. Who or what is on the menu? So, first things first, those of you who haven't watched Charmaine's live, we're going to go straight into that to see what was said by Bob. So, what I want to make very clear is I've had communication with Bob the dog handler for many months. And when I saw him at the vigil after the clandestine grave was found, I said he tried to start telling Cheryl and others about what had been found. And I pulled him aside and I said, Bob, you shouldn't be talking about this. It's potential evidence. It shouldn't be disclosed or discussed with anyone other than the RCMP. That was at the vigil. He then continued to obviously speak to anyone and everyone that would listen, and had been communicating with Belynda prior to that point. And you'll see from the emails I've received for him that he's had no problem communicating with me and passing on his theories, except for this last email where he didn't find it necessary to email me directly to address what I had to say. He emailed Belynda, who then passed it on to Charmaine. So, to me, that screams coward. There's many people that I've reached out to who have like to run their mouth about me, and when I respond, they don't respond back. They just want to tell everyone behind my back. So, be a big girl and put your big girl pants on. Hi, Duke. Welcome in. Better late than never. Support organ donation. Good to see you too. So I'm going to put on what Bob's response was. So Bob, for those who don't know, volunteered his services to Please Bring Me Home. He is not affiliated with them. He reached out to them offering his cadaver dog services. I would like you all to listen to what his credentials are and also ask yourself if his credentials are what they say they are and he's affiliated with the Pictou County RCMP and does searches for them. Why did they not call him to search for Jack and Lilly in the beginning when they first went missing? Why did they call in cadaver dogs from out west? Janice, you need to leave the chat that you're in right now, leave the live that you're in now, and go into the other live. You are in the vertical one. So there's two. There's a vertical and a horizontal. You are in the vertical one. You leave that one, close it, go to my channel, and go to the other live that's running at the same time. Is this about finding Lily and Jack, or is it just a trash people talking? These babies deserve answers. Absolutely, they do, Strawberry Wine. And the problem with this is that all we have are people putting out misinformation, leading people down garden paths, communicating with members of the family, information that shouldn't be communicated, and generally lying through their ass. And it's not just Bob the dog handler, it is everyone that Belynda has surrounded herself with. Darren, Kent, Anita, the lawyer, the hero, all of them. This is why we have no answers. No, there was 3 people at the home strawberry wine. 3 people. There was Malaya, there was Daniel, and there was Janie. And they all want to say that somebody picked them up at the end of the road. In fact, it was Darren Geddes, whose very first production that stated that somebody guided the children to the end of the driveway and collected them. And in fact, there's a recording of him saying that if anybody heard his conversations with Daniel while he had the police provided phone, that it might appear like he was the one that picked up the kids at the side of the road. But Layla, I mean no disrespect, but how can you be certain Malaya is innocent? I can't be certain. I wasn't there. I wasn't there on May the 2nd. I never knew any of these people. I have no clue. What I can surmise is only based on conversations I've had with Malaya, conversations I've had with her family, and what Daniel himself has said, and what others surrounding the case have said, which is more than anyone else can say because they've never spoken to Malaya and base all of their opinions solely on 2 interviews and everything Daniel has said. So, and obviously the massive amount of misinformation out there. So take it as you will. I don't take any disrespect. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can only go by my gut feeling, my instinct, and how someone behaves around me. And the fact that she's not facing charges right now, Daniel is. So let's go to Charmaine's live from last night, where she reads off the email that Bob sent to Belynda to pass on to Charmaine rather than sending it to me directly. Bob, if you're out there, I'll put a link in the chat, and you're more than welcome to come up and defend yourself, since apparently that's what you were trying to do on Charmaine, and that's why she was giving you the platform to do so. But just be rest assured that I'll be reading every email that you sent to me prior. All right, I'm going to put a link in the chat. And we will share screen. Everyone can just let me know in the chat that you can hear everything.
Go ahead and read this for you guys. First, before I forget, just one sec, Melissa. You guys see him? Where is he?
Oh yeah, everybody wants to hear about.
You can't see him. He's so close to me. He's like he's right there. So I said that I'd show him, and I can't. So I apologize. But anyways, let's get to this email from Bob. My response to Shenanigans podcast of August 8th, 2026, to whom it may concern. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of the verbal tar and feathering I received on Shenanigans podcast on August 8th with special guest Damian Butler, a search manager.
I just want to pause there for 1 second. If you thought that was a tar and feathering, you're probably going to not like what's coming next.
With Please Bring Me Home, like many of today's YouTube creators, not all, whose sole purpose is to generate drama, negativity with true non-truths and with non-fact-based opinions to boost the number of their subscribers, hence put more money in their pot to keep their channel up and running. Sadly, this is being done at the expense of search efforts for the two missing children here in Nova Scotia, Jack and Lilly Sullivan.
So I do wonder why he's been emailing me for months and why he sent this to whom it may concern to another YouTuber. We'll see.
And has created an even deeper division among family members, relatives, and friends of the family. It has also created an extra workload on the RCMP who are investigating their disappearance. I never thought I would have to lower myself to Shan and Damien's level in an attempt to clear the air, but I think it is important to give you some background on myself first. My name is Robert Major, and I reside in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, but I must say Bob the dog handler has a nice ring to it, LOL. Back in 1995, I was the subject of a multi-search team after losing my compass in a heavily wooded area in Halifax County, was eventually plucked off the shoreline of a nearby lake by a DNR chopper. Wanting to give back for all that was done for me in 1996, I signed up with Halifax Regional Search and Rescue. For the first 3 years, I was a ground pounder with the encouragement of with a local RCMP dog master. I got involved with the RCMP Civilian Search and Rescue Dog Program. I was certified as a civilian dog master in 2001 by the RCMP. After almost 2 years of training with my first bloodhound named Salmon, I remained attached to the Halifax group right up to somewhere between 2014 and 2015. I was also attached to the Pictou County Volunteer Search and Rescue Team for a few short years, and I did a 2-year stint in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories with search and rescue. At the same time, I did a lot of dog work for the RCMP in the north, as they didn't have a general service police dog up there at the time. In total, that's almost 30 years of experience in search and rescue, 25 as a dog master. Over the years,
So I'm going to stop that there. 30 years experience in being a dog handler and searcher. I would suspect that you know what the common procedures and protocols are for dealing with family members of missing individuals. This case is being investigated by the Major Crime Unit. So if you think that it's appropriate to discuss a clandestine grave, your quotes, not mine, with the mother of 2 missing children during a search for another missing individual, then I think you haven't learned anything in the last 30 years. What you did was completely inappropriate. Even after I told you at the vigil to not discuss the findings, that the Major Crime Unit was aware of them and that they were looking into it. And we're going to go through the emails that you sent me and see how many times you flip-flopped your little stories. Holly, the dog that he uses on his searches recently, is only 2 years old, still a puppy. Does not behave like a trained bloodhound. And Bob is an old man who couldn't handle his dog on the last search and nearly had to have an ambulance called for him after his dog ran off. But that's a different story. We'll carry on. Thank you for everyone sending out the jewels and gems and such. That's great, Janice. Looks like Bob knows everyone, including Belynda, and something tells me he knows Darren as well. I'd like to know who else he knows. Is he friends with Kent? Does he have any affiliations that we should know about, Janice? And how did his daughter pass away? We shall carry on.
My dogs of the past and myself had many successes in finding lost and missing persons, but more often than not came back empty-handed because of bad information and misinformation. Sound familiar, Shannon, Damien? Not once over all these years were my actions or reactions and those of my past dogs, both in search field and out of the search field, called into question. One of the many reasons I would rather work with dogs than people is that dogs don't lie. They don't know how to. That is a human trait.
Yes, it is, Bob. It is a human trait that you possess. And we'll begin to hear about some of your fabrications as we continue on. Untrained dogs are not reliable. And poor handlers are not reliable either.
I carried a badge for many years under the direction of the Attorney General's office, dealing with both civil and criminal investigations. Over those years, I learned to read people fairly well, and most importantly, did not draw any conclusions until all of the evidence was in. Melissa, if there's anything I need to hit in chat while I'm doing this, just interrupt me. Right from the get-go, there was something not sitting right with me regarding Damian Butler, but just couldn't put my finger on it until now. Any search manager.
I think I figured out what was unsettling about Damien for Bob the dog handler. And it was that Damien saw through his bullshit and called it on day one, much like I did. That's got us stuck.
Of any search organization in Nova Scotia who would go public on a YouTube channel and air any dirty laundry that they felt they had within a search team would be dismissed immediately, totally unprofessional to say the least.
Right, so that's pretty much what the RCMP said about you, Bob. That any dog handler that communicates with a YouTuber and is trying to push narratives down their throat so that she puts them on her channel, which I did not, isn't reliable. This is a classic example of Darvo, and there is so much of it in this case. And if somebody could show Christy Schuler the door in the vertical chat, I just don't have time for you kind of people. This is about Jack and Lilly. This is about getting justice for them. And this is about squashing all the lies and bullshit out there. That is what I do. And if you don't like it, don't watch me. Go watch other YouTube channels. I already have resident trolls in here, and you're new, and I don't need you in here.
The least. For Damian Butler to be audio recording conversations with search team members without their knowledge, under his control, depicts mistrust, doubt, and weakness. It is not illegal as long as the person being recorded is a participant in the conversation. Single party consent. In Shan's post in the above mentioned podcast, she referred to me as unreliable. I'm not sure in what context she means unreliable. I can say that every search I was asked to attend, both public and please bring me home searches, I attended. Secondly, in Shan's post, she stated that Belynda Gray and I had a previous relationship. How ludicrous. I never met or spoke.
Yes, how ludicrous indeed. Let's have a little listen how he says he didn't have any relationship or correspondence with Belynda prior to the May 2nd vigil, and then listen to how he says that actually he reached out to her in January prior to the searches.
Spoke with Belynda until the rally for justice at the Stellarton RCMP detachment on May 2nd, 2026. It is statements like this that shows Shan's true colors by generating false drama. In January of 2026, I let Belynda know that in between public searches and please bring me home search.
So, again, who are you going to see in court? Christy Schuler. Jesus Christ. So he didn't speak to Belynda before the vigil. Belynda says she never met Bob before the vigil, but here Bob is saying that he reached out to her in January to talk about upcoming searches and that she had given him areas to search. So which one is it, Bob? Did you speak to her in January or not? Is that a lie? Which one is it? Did you reach out to her in January to discuss the case and searches, or did you only meet her first time on May 2nd? And again, we're going to go through some emails and we're going to pick it all apart because that's what I do. Oh, Bob posts everything on Facebook, which is exactly why I said he's unreliable. Why on God's green earth, if you are searching for missing children and you come across are brought to an area where a hole in the ground is found, would you want to post about it on Facebook, post about it on YouTube, and try to tell family members who are still hoping that the children are alive about it? I just can't. When you hear one of these emails that he sent me, you would swear it was Durwood himself. I ask myself the same thing. Yes. Bob wears a body camera. In fact, he was wearing one the day that he came out. So, okay for you, Bob, but no one else? I would say, to play devil's advocate, the info about the boot print that was found on the last search was because there was a reporter on that search team. And I don't think myself that it was relevant, but what it proves is that there were children out in the woods playing, likely Margie's grandchildren. We're going to have all the trolls in the vertical chat, just so you know. Okay. Claire Woods. No. We're not going to have the misinformation crap being posted here, okay? Durwood tried to say the same thing, that Shelby was a psychic and had said this, that, and the other, and it had nothing to do with that.
Searches in the spring, I would gladly check out any areas with my cadaver dog that she would like to see searched. She gave me a couple of areas to look at, and I did, and nothing was found. She is going to give me some other areas to search this fall once the tree foliage and ground vegetation has died off. Now, this is where it gets disturbing. I have not pre-read this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I have not
Sure.
pre-read this. Now, this is where it gets disturbing. It was Belynda that reached out to Please Bring Me Home to come to Nova Scotia and assist in the search for her grandchildren. Please Bring Me Home accepted, and Belynda became their client. As a client, Please Bring Me Home had a responsibility to keep Belynda well informed of their activities, including searches, planned searches, anything found during.
No, actually, Please Bring Me Home has a duty to report all information and things found to the RCMP, not to Belynda, not to Cheryl, not to Malaya, not to anyone, but the RCMP who are investigating this case. I find it interesting that nobody has a problem with Belynda demanding answers from the RCMP, Kent at the vigil demanding answers from the RCMP, but Malaya, the mother of the children, can't demand answers for the RCMP. The hypocrisy is amazing because we all know that Cody's been nothing but a doting father. So much so that he was there helping you dig, wasn't he, Belynda? Oh no, sorry, he wasn't. That was Charlotte Wood, Charmaine's moderator, and Belynda's friend.
During these searches and anything else of significance. This was told to her directly by Nick Oldreive, executive director of Please Bring Me Home. Sadly, they failed to live up to their responsibility. They told her next to nothing. So now the family is being told nothing by the RCMP, and now Please Bring Me Home is telling them nothing. Knowing that no family members were a suspect in the children.
So I just sometimes have no words for things. Perhaps there's a reason that Belynda stopped being told things. You do recall what happened during the November search. I said, Shantae, that the Please Bring Me Home does not need to report everything they find to any of the family members, that they should be reporting it to the major crime unit. Those are the people who are investigating the case. Do not take my words and twist them to concoct them into the next mock video. Thank you.
Children's disappearance at that time, based on RCMP announcements to that effect on May 26, 2026, I advised Belynda of my cadaver dog, giving a primary alert to what appeared to be a hand-dug clandestine grave in a wooded area on the property of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church on the Lairg Road on April 27th,
Hold on.
2026. And the RCMP were informed at that time. Go ahead.
So he searched where there was a clandestine grave by the church. So is that church close to Lily and Jack's Daniels property?
I believe when Belynda was on, she said it was maybe about a 15-minute drive, but it is on Lairg Road, the same place that Justin Smith said that he heard a vehicle.
It is at the corner of Lairg and Montreal Road, not far from where the hero searcher found the sock, headband, and other things. And again, I will mention again, Major Crime Unit was made aware of this situation, this clandestine grave, the same day that it was found. So why have to do any kind of follow-up whatsoever when... Sorry, 1 second. Hello? The old, can we go to Tim Hortons? Oh, yeah. And I will ask, what do they all have in common, Cool J? What do they all have in common? We'll get to that. Yes, thank you, Burning Bush Hangout in the vertical chat. Clearwood can disappear as well.
Call it like 1:30 in the morning, whatever. So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go on.
Reading.
Okay. Oh, where am I? Okay. Let's start heading down to the finish line, dealing mainly with the grave site at the church. First of all, let me say this isn't my first rodeo in dealing with hand-dug graves. In 2 separate occasions, many years ago, while attached to the Halifax Search and Rescue, the RCMP requested my cadaver dog to search a wooded area for signs of human remains being buried there. There also was a second cadaver and handler in Nova Scotia at that time, vacationing from the US. My dog alerted in one particular location, and the other cadaver dog alerted to the same location. The medical examiner's field officer attended the site, and the digging began. They found nothing. About a year later, I received a phone call from the investigating officer. He advised that both dogs were correct in alerting at that location. He advised that further investigation revealed that this was biker gang-related homicide.
I find it very hard to believe that the medical office and would have contacted a dog handler a year later to tell him that it was biker related. That doesn't follow chain of command. That would have been a need to know basis, and that would have been information that would have gone to the main investigator, the top dog, the Rob McCammons of the world. Hey, Barb, good to see you. In terms of RCMP Major Crime Unit, do they keep open communication? Is there smooth contact between all of those working the case, or are some things tied up? I would say that there, in this particular case, with it being such a high profile case of 2 missing children, that there is a hierarchy that's followed. There is obviously the lead investigator. There are the, I don't want to say it as a derogatory term, but then there's the information gatherers who basically field the information, put it into a report, and pass it up the chain. So I would say that there are many hands on deck on this case. And as much as people want to say that the RCMP are incompetent, that's one of Darren's favorite things, I would say that they keep their cards close to their chest. Some things I don't agree with everyone, but I am going to play something from Dispersing the Fog, where a lawyer and another person are discussing RCMP protocols in a case such as this. So we'll get to that in a bit. All right, we shall continue.
That as a result of a leak of the location from within the biker gang, the grave was dug up by the bikers and remains were scattered around the province to avoid positive identification. The grave had been empty for 8 years. Cadaver scent will remain in the soil for many years after the remains were dug up.
Okay, so remember that. The ME says that the body had been dug up 8 years prior, and that the remnants, the cadaver scent, could stay in there for up to 8 years. But previously, and in other emails to me, the ME told him that it wasn't worth sending in the soil samples because there would be no decomp found. But we'll see.
And relocated under the right conditions. On Monday, April 27th, 2026, I arrived at the church site to do a search, a wooded area with my cadaver dog. I was met by Nick Oldreeve, Shan, and maybe 3 other searchers from Please Bring Me Home. We had a quick powwow in Nick's van to discuss strategy. I did not know at the time that Shan was a YouTube podcaster as well as a Please Bring Me Home searcher.
I'm going to take this opportunity to say bullshit and bullshit and bullshit. I'm not a Please Bring Me Home searcher. I have no affiliation with Please Bring Me Home, actually. I'm not a registered member. I volunteered my time and have volunteered my time for searches. I am just shenanigans. I am just a mother who is trying to help another mother find her 2 children.
This is when I raised this question for the first time. I said, where did that information come from that led us here in the first place? Shan then began to say something in response, and Nick immediately spoke up and silenced her response. I thought nothing.
That is a bold face lie, Bob. That never happened. Never happened. Never happened. So what other lies are you telling, Bob? Nick never tried to overspeak, stop me from speaking, or interrupt anything I was saying. That's not his style. And if you knew him, you would know that. But instead, saying this plays into your little narrative that you're going to continue on in a moment here about your discussion with Cheryl.
Nothing of it at the time. I just thought Nick was anxious to get the search started. Later on, after the search was completed, I was told the information came from an anonymous source and that what I was continued to be told from that day forward. Nick recorded the search in its entirety. It didn't take long for the dog to find the location and give her primary alert. Just from looking at the site, there were a few indications visible without disturbing anything that this was a hand-dug clandestine grave. The RCMP were notified later on that day. Wanting to be absolutely sure the dog didn't give a false alert, on May 5th,
Just going to say, since you have no problem making fun of Cheryl and her speech pattern with your raft of Harley, Charmaine, it's clandestine.
I went back to the site with Damian Butler, Shan, and I believed 1 or 2 other searchers. I put the dog in search.
Wrong again, Bob. Wrong again. It was just Damian and I. No one else. You, me, Damien, your dog, and a camera. If you're forgetting facts like that, perhaps you're forgetting other things.
Search mode, approaching the site from a different direction, and once again, the dog gave her primary alert with no hesitation. I was now satisfied that there was or is human remains located there. That is the video that I showed on May 5th. I was not aware that Shenanigans and Damien were there. Sometime around mid-June 2026, I contacted the RCMP Major Crimes Unit and questioned them whether or not they had attended the site. I was told no, and that they were not interested in our findings. Because the RCMP told Belynda she could go.
The RCMP don't say things like that. And I don't care who's saying it, whether it's Bob, whether it's Belynda, whether it's Darren, whether it's anyone. RCMP don't tell anybody shit. And if they insinuated that there was nothing that they could do about you going to go dig up the clandestine grave, something tells me they were already there, Bob. They already cleared the area and already got what they needed from it. Or maybe they had skipped all of that, called the owner of the Presbyterian church and said, "Hey there, owner, why is there a grave or what looks like a grave there?" And they said, "Oh, actually, there was a very old grave that was there. It was 200 years old or so, and we moved it to the property across the road." Like, people, which is exactly why you wouldn't want to be telling the mother of two missing children about the find. And we continue.
Go ahead and dig it up, and me being told by the RCMP that they were not interested in the site. On June 17th, 2026, myself, Belynda, and Charlotte Wood dug it up and found the grave empty. Before leaving the site, I took soil.
So why is your moderator, Charmaine, out there digging with Belynda, her friend? So your moderator is Belynda's friend? Interesting. But it's a big problem for me and or my moderators to be friends with Cheryl or anyone else. Just checking. The RCMP told Sharon in an email that they have no need to further process that site. Indeed, because they had already acted on the information. And just imagine that something was found related to this case. And you have the dog handler out there blabbing it to the whole world, including the mother. Now, there is no suspects. That's right. RCMP have not named any suspects because it is still an open investigation. They will not name suspects or a suspect, or if there is any suspect, until they are ready to make an arrest. So, err on the side of caution, perhaps, as a professional dog handler with 30 years experience.
Soil samples from the grave at different depths and locations in the grave. I wanted to send these samples to the medical examiner's office for analysis. Note, a decomposing body buried in soil produces volatile organic compounds which get absorbed into the soil. These organic compounds from human decomposition is unique and differs from animals. It is almost like a fingerprint. When I contacted the medical examiner's office, I was told that if the body was removed from a gravesite after 6 to 7 weeks, that organic compound would have degraded to nothing and analysis testing would be fruitless.
But he just said early on in that email that the ME told them that they were in fact right for the dog hitting on that hole, that bikers had moved a body out of there 8 years prior. Anyway, I'm confused. And that the soil samples confirmed that, and the ME called to tell him a year later. In either case, the real Libby life, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. My point is that a dog handler with this type of experience should have been discussing this with anyone other than the RCMP. Who am I? But I didn't bring it out. Belynda brought it out. Not only to discredit the RCMP, but to discredit Please Bring Me Home and anyone else, and to make Bob look like the hero. And that's what I disagree with. And Belynda came into the chat and said we should all be ashamed of ourselves. I'm not ashamed. Not ashamed of anything, Belynda.
Because cadaver scent, which is what the dog detects, can last in the soil for many years under the right conditions, I decided to test the dog on a soil on.
Oh, Charlotte. It's very sad that you have tried to make me look bad. I've done nothing but search as much as I can to help find out what happened to Jack and Lilly. Yeah, I saw you at the vigil with Darren and Belynda, all cozy. You came up to my face, introduced yourself, was kind to me, pretending like you were supportive, and then the minute I walked away, you made the mistake of talking in front of some of my friends. And what did you say, Charlotte? What did you say, Charlotte, when I walked away? Go on, tell the chat, because I've got witnesses to what you said. No, you didn't. You said I was a fucking bitch. I haven't separated a community. At that vigil, Charlotte, I brought Cindy and Belynda together. I had Cheryl and Belynda talking to each other. I had Malaya willing to sit down with Malaya and Belynda together to communicate, to work together with the case. And what did Belynda say? I have to think about it. And what did she say when I offered again to act as a mediator for her to talk to Malaya to get the answers that she wanted? She has no interest in finding answers if this is the way she conducts herself. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Don't come in here and cause drama in my chat. You don't do anything in Charmaine's chat to stop people running their mouth about me. I don't have the wrong idea. I know exactly what you said when I walked away. Take it to Charmaine's chat. Say hi to Ron for me. Looking forward to doing that live with you, Ron, Mexico. Still waiting. Still waiting. It's almost over, Cheryl. Don't worry.
The soil samples alone. On June 17th, 2026 at 8 p.m., I placed about a tablespoonful of the soil in a cinder block in one of my training areas. On June 18th, 2026 at 8 a.m., some 12 hours later, I put the dog in search mode, and when she came to the cinder block, she gave her primary alert. So that is 3 confirmations that there was a body or bodies buried at that site. During an unrelated search for different missing persons, and just really quickly, that just throws my whole idea out the window. I don't think ashes have a human decomp. So, anyways, during an unrelated search for a
here we
different
go.
missing person just a few short weeks ago, I had the opportunity to meet with and talk briefly with Malaya Brooks Murray and a friend of hers, Cheryl Christine, for the first time. Knowing once again that none of the family members were a suspect in Jack and Lily's disappearance at that time, as indicated by the RCMP, I asked them the question, do you know where the information came from that led us to the church site on Lairg Road? They then looked at each other briefly as if to say, should we tell him? And Cheryl replied, Cheryl Wozniak. Right then and there, a red flag came up in my head. This tells me that they knew about the gravesite at the church. The conversation ended there. When Cheryl Wozniak was contacted, she stated she knew nothing about the gravesite at the church and certainly didn't notify us, please bring me home. And this is just ridiculous. Doesn't even live there.
Yeah, you know that, Charmaine, don't you? So here's the thing. I was there when Bob opened his big trap to Malaya and Cheryl after being told not to. Not only was I there, Damien was there, 4 members from Ground Search and Rescue from another area were there, as well as 4 other volunteer searchers. So, Bob, think very carefully about what you're saying, because that was a bold-faced lie yet again. I'm going to tell you what Cheryl replied. This is the email that Cheryl sent to Bob this morning after hearing about this absolute bullshit. One moment, please. Hello, Bob. Would you like to explain to me why you are telling lies to YouTubers? I've only met you once or twice and spoke to you for no longer than 3 minutes. I sure as hell didn't tell you that Cheryl Wozniak told me anything about a dug hole. And no offense, but if she did, I sure as hell wouldn't be telling you about it. I'd be contacting the RCMP. You're supposed to be a professional, helping families find missing loved ones. You should be ashamed with the lies you continue to tell. I've contacted the RCMP this morning and the lead investigator of Jack and Lilly Sullivan's case. Do better. Oh, look, Daylene's back. Block her, please. Do not come into my channel. Why don't you go and talk to Brandon and leak some more emails about trying to shut down my channel? No, Daylene, you have nothing to offer. You have been the biggest compromise to this case, in my opinion, and everyone you support. You're a disgusting individual. Still waiting for my papers. And I saw your comment under Ron Mexico. Why don't you get your elite PI and team to find my legal name? And then when you do find my legal name and you write up your little cease and desist, do yourself a favor and shove it up your ass. Send another email to Brandon, letting him call me a bitch and asking for my name and address. Very similar to what happened with Larry Cameron. I'm beginning to see a bit of a trend here, Daylene. Sure. I want Severn Skywatcher blocked, Daylene, and I want Seaweed out of here. Remove. Thank you. So I'm not going to play any more of this dribble. It's disgusting. Share cares if you're watching. You're no better than the people you surround yourself with. Daylene and Belynda, you're no better than the people you surround yourself with. You will talk to anyone to get information, like Darren, like Kent. I think you should worry about what's going on in your own garage and your own home. Where is Cody? Why are you guys untouchable? Why is it that everyone else is a suspect when Cody actually has the most to gain? How did he lose his driver's license? Was it from drunk driving or was it from not paying child support? So are you enabling an adult son to live in your garage, not work, live off the system, and not pay his child support? Sounds like a Janie Daniel kind of relationship to me. How come you didn't tell Malaya that Cody was cheating on her and got someone pregnant? Did you know that Malaya and the mistress were pregnant at the same time? Oh, yes, you did know that, because that's your grandchildren, isn't it? Cody the angel. Poor baby Cody. I'm disgusted with all of this because, to be honest with you, Belynda, the people that you've surrounded yourself with have put out the most misinformation than anyone in this case. And you want to say that I should be ashamed of myself? We're going to listen to what your buddy Darren has to say next. And then you tell me why you think that Darren's better than me. He's the whole reason I started a channel. Daylene's got her little knickers in a twist. She's the only lawyer in Canada that will represent Belynda. What does that tell you? Belynda has contacted 6 lawyers in Nova Scotia and none of them will take on this case. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Sky Severn Watcher, Daylene, a masterclass on Mean Girls reality show. That's right. Maybe I learned it from you. How's Chrissy doing? You still talking to Darren every day? What about Kent, Corbett 81? What about Brandon, who was name dropping Cat Sass's old ladies in my chat, trying to get me in trouble? I don't think Matt McClelland would like to know that, Brandon, that you were name dropping some of their old ladies' names, saying that they were servicing Kent to try to get me in trouble. All right. So we touched on Belynda. We touched on Bob. We figured out that Cody lost his license for not paying child support. So he can't drive. He can't work. He lives in Belynda's garage. So does that mean that maybe he has some sort of motive? Maybe he has just as much motive as other people. All right. I'm going to go on to Darren and his wonderful conversation with another wicked witch of the West. Don't come at me, Matt. Brandon said it. He typed it, not me. I'm just letting you know what's going on in your backyard. And I'm not taking the blame for it anymore. You got issues down there, bro. Pictou County's got some issues.
The same questions, expecting different answers. But they're not getting different answers because I lived it.
Yeah.
It's-
Mustang Girl, welcome up. She came up because she wanted to ask you something, Darren.
Sure.
Not necessarily just ask you, but I just have a question. Okay, so a while back, there was a reserve there that was blocking roads because of the pot
second.
store or whatever they had. Is that the same reservation?
They did that. They where they were blocking they went after Pictou Landing Reserve for a while for the pot stores, but there was some other raids in all the reserves around here. They closed streets down in Millbrook for a while on a couple of warrants, and they searched houses and they closed the street down for the day. Familiar to me. And just after and an unlicensed or an unrecognized group took over the native CPS on Indian Brook. They could go in and take 2 children out of a home, and who else would have the ability to financially and as far as land wise to transfer them somewhere where the Canadian public couldn't find them? Well, sovereign nation, that's who else. That's who has the ability to do that, and they are a sovereign nation, and they're demanding more sovereign rights. They want their own police force. They, by the way, the official CPS that was operating on Indian Brook a couple of years ago, they kicked them out. The public natives got together on Indian Brook and kicked them out because they figured that they weren't protecting the native children the way they should have been, and an unlicensed or an unrecognized group took over the native.
Well, I'll tell you what, Cool J. Wouldn't you know he's on the Hero Searchers friend list? Coincidence?
CPS on Indian Brook. And this is before the children went missing. So the more people, and the other reason I do like to explain stuff, although I'm frustrated with
Stutter.
stupid people. I can't. I'm not smart. I'm not smart, but my fuck. I mean, I still get calls and okay, Darren, what did you do with the kids? All right, Darren, where did you help Daniel bury the kids? Oh, fuck.
Wow.
You know, the last time Shenanigans called me that I would answer, and I didn't know it was a strange number. And this woman, I picked up the phone.
Don't forget when Darren said that I called him on a private number. I called him on a private number, but then he called me back the next day.
Phone, and this fucking woman says to me, same thing. Okay, Darren, I want to know where you and Daniel buried the kids at. And I said, oh, fuck, another kook. And she wouldn't tell me who she was for the first little while. But I kept her talking because the voice sounded very familiar to me. And just after about a minute or two, I said, oh, fuck, Shani, lovey, you're giving me a call. Oh. And then she admitted who she was. And that's where that phone call that she recorded came from, and she never played all of it, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
You should thank your lucky stars, Darren, that I didn't play it all. Still got some more to leak for you. Maybe I should play the other recording of you that everyone's forgotten about how it would sound like you were the one that picked up the kids on the side of the road. Now listen to what Belynda's buddy Darren says next. He's a real gentleman. And it's not the first time he's made such threats.
Do you know during that phone call, that nut after we talked a little while and we were arguing like a bastard, and then she comes up with, Darren, I think in another situation, you and I would get along fine. We should get together. I thought, oh, I'm sorry, but I thought if we got together, Shannon, and there's nobody around, I think I'd tear your fucking head off.
Well, there are so many crazies in this
Oh, you
case.
didn't want to? Hold on a second. Another woman creator here didn't want to address what Darren just said there. Let me just rewind it a little bit in case you didn't hear it in the back. And I said to Darren, if this was under different circumstances, I'd meet him for a coffee. I certainly wouldn't be getting together with him. He admitted to having syphilis.
And just after about a minute or two, I said, oh, fuck, Shanny, lovey, you're giving me a call. Oh. And then she admitted who she was. And that's where that phone call that she recorded came from, and she never played all of it, believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know during that phone call, that nut, after we talked a little while and we were arguing like a bastard, and then she comes up with, Darren, I think in another situation, you and I would get along fine. We should get together. And I thought, oh, I'm sorry, but I thought if we got together, Shannon, and there's nobody around, I think I'd tear your fucking head off.
Well, there are so many crazies in this case, and then.
So if you and I got together, Darren, you'd rip my fucking head off. Is that what you do to women that don't listen to what you're telling them, that don't follow your narrative? Is that why your ex-wife left you? Yeah. Well, next time I'm in Pictou County, I'll give you a call. I got your number. Love to see you try to rip my fucking head off. Was that a threat? Sounds like a threat of violence to me. So this is someone that Belynda relies on for information. This is someone that Daleen relies on for information. This is someone that the PI uses for information. This is someone who, in that phone call conversation we had, explicitly said that Anita Maxwell was responsible for taking the children. First, it was Malaya, then it was Cindy, then it was Haley, then it was Hayden, then it was a bunch of crazy girls, then it was the Reserve, then it was the First Nation CPS. Now Michelle Glasgow herself has arranged it. Patty did not ask Darren. Fuck all. And in fact, the reason I called Darren was because Darren called Patty to tell Patty that Anita was the one that was responsible for taking the kids. Now, why would Darren call an elderly lady going through surgery to tell her that Anita Maxwell was responsible? And I ask you, who do all of these people have in common? But I'm the one putting out misinformation. Everyone wants to point the finger at me that I'm the one putting out misinformation. No, I'm not. I'm trying to squash it because I'm trying to get the answers and get to the bottom of this barrel of shit and find out what happened to Jack and Lilly. Because I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know who's responsible. All I know is that they're not around. And yes, Kids are missing, and everybody's out there telling stories about reserves and kids in trunks and Anita Maxwell talking about car seats and cars being hosed down and things in laundry. She and Darren and Daleen and all of these people, Brandon, they're all the same. They're all the same. I'm not even going to touch the GoFundMe crap because that GoFundMe was started to provide Belynda with a new lawyer and to pay. Well, actually, no, initially it was for Daleen and her court costs and her accommodation and food. And then she stepped away, yet she's still trying to bring down my channel. Well, if Darren is involved, like I said, Pictou County's got a bit of a problem with men that like to abuse women and threaten to rip their heads off. And men who like to name drop old ladies to get the same woman taken care of. It's almost as if this group of individuals is trying to get a certain organization to react. Right. I'm going to show a quick video, a snippet of what a local Nova Scotia lawyer had to say about RCMP protocols in such a case. And then I'm going to show Bob's emails. But I'm going to show this first, and then I think we'll take a little breather because it's just a lot. And to see the amount of crap that's put out, that's why I felt compelled to start a channel. You know, like, I do shake my head. Somebody said, shake your head. I'm shaking my damn head. I just don't even know what to make of it anymore. None of us were there. Cheryl wasn't even there. She came to search after the children were reported missing, and people tried to insinuate that she was at Gairloch Lake fishing. And I had to clear up that story. It is actually just so ridiculous, the crap that this camp is coming out with. And Bob wants to sit on his high horse and say about misinformation derailing the investigation. There is a group of individuals who work tirelessly every day to misinform you people. You want the receipts? I bring you receipts. People want to ask about my donations. I literally do not even cover for the last 3 or 4 months. I don't even cover the costs of what it costs to run a YouTube channel. So, ask yourself if that's the same situation for these other channels. Okay. One moment. You're okay? No?
Issues.
I haven't put it on stage.
Mahala Brooks Murray spoke out this week, Paul. That was early in the week, but did you see that article? Did you see her interview?
Yeah, I did.
She's the mother of Jack and Lilly Sullivan, missing children.
The CBC and the Globe and Mail about her missing children, the celebrated case of Lily and Jack Sullivan, who've disappeared. What? How long ago now?
Just over a year ago.
Over a year ago, and haven't been found.
What jumped out at me here, Paul? She didn't. There wasn't much new information, but she says she was told by the RCMP not to speak to the media. There was a lot of questions about why, because the dad, not the father biological, but the stepdad had been Daniel Martel, been speaking to everybody. Mahala Brooks Murray hadn't spoken to anybody, and she says she was told by the RCMP not to do so. So that's seems to be an issue there with the RCMP telling people not to speak to the media, and that doesn't help us.
It's funny, we didn't talk to each other about this. That's exactly what I highlighted.
Okay.
That the RCMP, that's their technique for keeping a lid on things. They did that after the Nova Scotia massacres. Warned all the families not to talk to anyone because that'll screw up the investigation.
All right, one more time for those in the back.
There wasn't much new information, but she says she was told by the RCMP not to speak to the media. There was a lot of questions about why, because the dad, not the father biological, but the stepdad had been Daniel Martel, been speaking to everybody. Mahala Brooks Murray hadn't spoken to anybody, and she says she was told by the RCMP not to do so. So that's seems to be an issue there with the RCMP telling people not to speak to the media, and that doesn't help us.
It's funny, we didn't talk to each other about this. That's exactly what I highlighted.
Okay.
That the RCMP, that's their technique for keeping a lid on things. They did that after the Nova Scotia massacres. Warned all the families not to talk to anyone because that'll screw up the investigation. And so nothing happened. They were able to basically...
So while I don't agree with everything Paul says, it is very common knowledge here in Nova Scotia that the RCMP told the victims of Portapique not to talk to the media because it would disrupt the investigation. So what do you think the likelihood is that they advised Malaya the same thing? Don't worry about it, guys. If all that people can do is do the laughing button, it's because they are banned from my chat and can't comment, and I can't see their laughing faces. But you know what? We'll see who laughs last. We'll see who laughs last. So the gentleman on the right of your screen, you'll recognize, did come on my live, and we discussed Daniel Martel, the upcoming court case. And I'm hoping to have him on again after September 3rd, where Daniel will be in court, likely to enter his plea for the charges he has against him, which are sexual assault, and confinement. That doesn't sound very consensual to me. Okay. Should we take a break and then I can go over Bob the handler's emails to me and we can do a comparison on the difference between what he said before and what he said now? What do you think? It's been an hour and a half, and I think I would like to have a cigarette. Daniel's court is September 3rd, so just in a couple of weeks. Thank you, Burning Bush, for letting everyone know. Everyone else, Everyone's in the horizontal chat. So excellent question, Liz. Well, depends who you ask, See Legal Canada. Depends who you ask. Because if, from what I understand, she was advised not to speak to the media. She wasn't directly said to, if you speak to the media, you're going to get arrested for obstruction. She was told, we strongly advise you don't talk to the media because it could jeopardize the investigation of your 2 missing children. Daniel, however, he didn't have a problem. All right. What I'm going to do is remove this. Well, we know that, Cool J, because look at Anita. She's still flapping her gums on Mike Demands with every load of absolute bullshit you can possibly imagine. Portapic is different from 2 missing vulnerable children, though. It is. But I think you'll find that there could possibly be some dots connected between the 2 with regards to the people surrounding the case. I'll leave it at that for now. The real Ivy life, you need to leave this live that you're in and go into the other one. There's 2 going right now. So here is, I'm just going to leave this up there, and then I'm going to go through every single email that Bob the dog handler sent me. This is just one, but like Brandon, I have a collection. So I'm going to take a break, and I will be back in a couple of minutes, and I'm going to leave this on the screen, and you can ponder what the next emails might suggest. I'm back. That was a darn good cigarette. Ah, well, you're not expecting to see DM in September? My haters list is huge. And all it does is give me more motivation, I will say. Right. Hey, Cindy. All right. I love smiley faces. I wish I could see them all. Yeah. All right. Let's bring up Bob's emails. All right. So the first one, well, no, this isn't the first one. This was, where and how do I sign up to register for your podcasts? I thoroughly enjoy watching them. And I said to him, I hid my channel for a while so I can focus on some more important things going on behind the scenes. Being in the public eye isn't what's needed right now. I'll be back once my missions are complete. Thank you for responding to my inquiry. In a recent conversation I had with the MCU, I was told they never attended the site out at the church, in which the dog gave a primary alert to the presence of cadaver scent, and that they are not interested in our findings of May 5th. This tells me that the focus of their investigation is in a completely different direction. That being that the Sullivan kids are being taken care of and being protected in some other location. Just my opinion. When I asked if they had any problem if I went out there and dug it up myself, they said, go ahead. They're an arrogant bunch, but I believe in my dog. All the best of luck with what you're doing. So the people that he worked with, the RCMP, that had him doing searches before, are an arrogant bunch? Is it possible he feels that way because he's not being the get information that he wants? Maybe that's a belligerent side. Yeah. I don't know where Bob is. He has a few different aliases, and he's not as untech savvy as one would think. Yeah. I'm going to go through some earlier messages. So I did find my vape. Yes, I did. I might have to get it. So he goes from, you'll see in the previous emails, he talks about digging up the hole. He mentions to me about going out there, but neglects to say that he went with Belynda and seaweed. And it makes me wonder now why he never told me that. Why message me and tell me that he went, dug up, grabbed samples, sent it to the ME, did this, did that, but then doesn't send me his reply, doesn't tell me that he went with Belynda, says that Belynda was told by the major crime unit. Bob suggests a lot of things, the real Ivy life. Oh, interesting. Somebody said, Tint just messaged me saying he was trying to send me a super chat, but it's not working. Maybe you are using an international card. I don't know. Saying that, people are sending jewels fine, so I'm not sure. Come in and say hi. Oh, hey, Corbin. Are you the same Corbin on Brandon's friends list? Just curious. All right, let me get to the previous emails. All right. So I do want to make sure that everyone knows that I did send all of these emails to the Major Crime Unit. Right. The Dig. Good evening, Shan. I attended the site today out at the church, shovel in hand, seeing as MCU had no problem with me digging it up, what appears to be a hand-dug clandestine grave. Clandestine. In that wooded area, no bodies were found. I collected up soil samples to forward to the ME's office in Halifax for analysis. A decomposing body buried in soil produces volatile organic compounds, which are unique to humans and absorb into the soil and differ from animals. It's like a fingerprint. In my conversation with the technician at the ME's office, I was advised that once the body is removed, the volatile organic compounds diminish after 6 to 7 weeks, which makes my soil sample no good. It was the cadaver scent in the soil that my dog alerted to on 2 separate occasions and can remain in the soil for months, even years under the right conditions. The bottom line now is there was a body or bodies buried there that have since been removed and relocated back to square one. Where are Jack and Lilly? So no mention there that he went out with Belynda. Why do you think he didn't tell me that he went out there with Belynda? Do you think it's because he knows that he shouldn't have been talking to Belynda about it? Maybe. Oh, he's been 3 times, Christina. He went once with Nick, myself, and other searchers. He went out with myself and Damien, and then he went out with Belynda and Seaweed, Charlotte. I don't need to be told how many times he went out because I already know. Because he documented it for me. One moment. This one is the one on Wednesday at 8 p.m. I placed a small amount of soil that I collected from the gravesite inside a cinder block. It's almost as though he copied and pasted all the emails he sent to me, compiled them into one email, and then sent it to Belynda. No. Oh, Christina, I think you should go to the beginning of the live. I don't have very kind things to say. I don't think what he's doing is at the level of a professional dog handler. Right. So it does kind of feel sometimes that when I am pushed in directions by groups of individuals, because they think I'm a YouTuber and I'm going to put out just about anything. When I don't do it, they go on to someone else. This is the thing, Cool J. And I'll remind everyone who didn't watch my live last time. I was on a search during the week that Please Bring Me Home was down doing searches. There was myself. Christine Inrig was on the team. And Cheryl. We started at the bottom of Gairloch Road and Lairg Road. And I will tell you, I did record this entire situation. We did the Lairg Mine. The Lairg Mine. We did all the paths off of Lairg Road. We did the pond on Lairg Road. We went all the way up Lairg Road to Montreal Road, past the cemetery, and to St. Andrew's Church. We went all the way around the church. I stopped for a pee. And as we went around the church, looked in all of the windows, looked in the cellar, creepy cellar. As I walked into the woods, I found a hole. And it was a very strange size. It had a red ribbon at the bottom of the hole. And it was reported immediately to Please Bring Me Home. And then it was reported to the Major Crime Unit. Cheryl remembers, but Christine Inrig claims to not remember finding it. So Nick came back. And we had Bob meet us there. And his dog hit on the hole. And Bob wanted to make sure that the dog hit on that hole again. And Damien and I went back out there and met him there, and the dog did hit again. This was never discussed with anyone. I didn't even mention it to Cheryl because I thought at the time it could be important. And the less people that knew about it, the better. But the dog handler later that day tried to tell Cheryl and all the family members at the vigil. I pulled him aside and told him that it was not appropriate for him to do so. But I guess he then proceeded to tell Belynda anyway, after he had been in communication with her since January. Christina Laska, Cheryl, I don't think he said Wozniak gave you the tip. He said you said something to him. We went over this, Christina Laska. He said that Cheryl and Malaya looked at each other and gave each other a look and said it was Cheryl Wozniak that gave them the tip. Sorry, I'm having a hard time actually keeping a fucking straight face. And to remind everyone, when Cheryl heard this was her reply. And I quote, "It's all right. I know you weren't here earlier, so some people weren't here. So this was Cheryl's reply to Bob saying that. Hello, Bob. Would you like to explain to me why you are telling lies to YouTubers? I have only met you once or twice and spoke to you for no longer than 3 minutes. I sure as hell didn't tell you that Cheryl Wozniak told me anything about any dug hole, and no offense, if she did, I sure as hell wouldn't be telling you about it. I'd be contacting the RCMP. You're supposed to be a professional, helping families find missing loved ones. You should be ashamed with the lies you continue to tell. I contacted the RCMP this morning and the lead investigator of the Jack and Lilly Sullivan case. Do better. Well, that would be an interesting question, because there certainly has been a lot of stories around Christine and Daniel and where she was the night before the search. The problem is with Belynda being so desperate is that she's surrounding herself with people that are either corrupting her, but at a minimum, corrupting the case. Strawberry wine. I have a question. You claim to do everything to protocols. I don't believe it's ethical to be sitting around drinking with family members that you are assisting. In my opinion, very wrong. Oh, strawberry wine, what's your real name? I have a question. Is this your other alt account, Daleen? Funny. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone sending the jewels. I haven't actually quite grasped how they work, but I'm going to look into it. Desperation doesn't give you a green card to disrupt an investigation. It doesn't give you a green card to allow people that you talk to push out false narratives. It doesn't give you the right to come out initially and say Malaya was a great mom, that she was soft-spoken, and then when you get involved with a certain group of individuals, to basically do anything and everything in your power to discredit her for a case in which you stand no chance of winning. There is no precedent set with Darius. I did see that comment. His aunt was provided guardianship of him prior to his disappearance. So I ask myself, what is the purpose of all of this? I saw a post actually made by a Teresa Gray. I would like anyone in Nova Scotia to see if you can recall the Devin Marsman case. Devin Marsman was a 16-year-old boy who went missing out of Halifax. It was on the $150,000 Nova Scotia Unsolved Crimes Reward Program. No one got the $150,000 reward, because it actually turned out to be family members that killed this boy after he witnessed something. There was 3 individuals arrested. There was his uncle, his cousin, and his cousin's girlfriend. And it was the cousin's girlfriend that began to talk first. So Teresa Gray is related to Belynda. And in fact, I saw Belynda early on in the Devin Marsman case making comments on Facebook pages regarding Devin. What I would like you all to do when you get a chance is Google Teresa Gray court missing child benefit. And I'll leave that with you guys. Okay. One thing I wanted to go over as well. Teresa Gray, Teresa Gray, as in Belynda Gray, Gray. Let me just see if there was anything else here from Bob. This is just more about the same exact thing that he sent to Charmaine. But this one's interesting. So this is when, I guess before he went out with Belynda. And he likes watching my lives. He's mentioned it before. He messaged me. He used to message me on my shenanigans account, which I got locked out of. And he said, give them both barrels tonight. Do you know who he was referring to? Other YouTubers. But it's okay now. Yeah. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and say Bob's always known I was a YouTuber. He's always known I was a YouTuber. And I know he's always known I was a YouTuber. So but ask yourself, Cindy, who would get the benefit for Jack and Lilly? Malaya isn't claiming it. But would a guardian receive it? All right. I wanted to go over something. Actually, I'm going to do this one first because this will lighten the mood a little, just as a reminder as to why I get a little sassy and a little, you know. So I took down a lot of videos, as you know, but some of them are worth remembering and remembering the reason why I get frustrated with other creators who are guilty of putting out misinformation and colluding with these people. So this will remind you. No, it's not a child tax benefit, Longing Heart. It's a benefit solely for guardians and parents of missing children. It's a benefit provided to them because of the stress that people endure during having a missing child. And it's also available to them should the child be murdered. It changes over to a different benefit. And should you be missing work for court appearances, it also gives you a benefit to cover those costs as well.
Fuck you, shenanigans. 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 Fuck you, shenanigans.
It's enough of his creepy voice. Yeah. I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of people saying that tonight. Bev, JCB, this is Wolfie. This is Wolfie. This is Rob Haynes. No mercy, no receipts, no problem. And this clip I took, well, someone took, from Charmaine's live, in which he was on her live and said, "Fuck you, shenanigans," on her live. He has a real hard-on for me. And he's also behind trying to make a fake account of Zach, the Tranquil Psychic. Oh, trying to start a rumor that we're together. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. Yeah, Charmaine did say that Wolfie was a useful idiot. That's what she said about all her mods. Anyway. He's a special kind of guy. He's been awfully quiet lately. Maybe he's been working on the mock channel. Right. On a more serious note, I wanted to show something else because I think it goes extremely underrated. It's a video I did when I first started. It's only 9 minutes long. I'm going to play that and then I'm going to end on a video of Jack and Lilly. But I wanted to touch on it because it actually applies to so many situations in the Jack and Lilly case. You can apply it to the creators. You can apply it to Daniel. You could apply it to Janie. You could apply it to Brandon. You could apply it to Daniel. Or sorry, Daleen. Sorry, Daniel. Oh. They're one and the same. So I feel that it does have a lot of connection to this case. So that's why Charmaine had him on a panel for Darius. Yeah, I also warned Darius's parents to stay away from all YouTubers. Unless they want the case to turn into a complete shit show like Jack and Lily's case, I advise them to not talk to any YouTubers. All right. Content. So I actually made this video before I got all sassy and stuff. I wonder how long ago I actually made it. I'm going to say probably November or December. 7 months ago. Well, January. So I do ask that you can just take the 9 minutes to watch it. Behavior used to dominate another person over time. It's not a single. Okay, so coercive control is a pattern of behavior used to dominate another person over time. It's not a single incident, it's a system of control. It could include isolation from friends, family, or support, monitoring movements, communications, or routines, psychological intimidation, fear, or threats, undermining autonomy and decision making, using children as leverage or tools of control. So, kind of like how other YouTube creators have tried to weaponize using CPS, using their viewers to mass report me to Child Protective Services. So, this kind of control happens in a lot of different types of scenarios. See how it applies. And hopefully, this doesn't apply to any of you in your day-to-day life, but coercive control is a type of abuse. It's just not one that everyone can see. Punishment when control is threatened, especially when a partner leaves. So I really do hope that Canada starts recognizing the systemic damage of coercive control, because it is detrimental to the psyche, in my opinion. So one of the questions I was sort of looking into was how coercive control can relate to child disappearances, right? And it's just theorizing, right? So basically, a loss of control is actually a number one trigger. So when a partner leaves, the controlling person experiences loss of authority, identity, and access. And children may be viewed as a way to regain control, a means of punishment, a symbol of ownership, or used as a bargaining tool. So, something to consider. Escalation after separation. Research consistently shows the most dangerous period is after separation. Coercive control can escalate into extreme actions when the individual feels humiliated, abandoned, exposed, replaced, or powerless. The disappearance of children in such contexts is sometimes understood as an extension of coercive dynamics, and it's not an impulsive act. Silence and ambiguity as control. So in coercive scenarios, not knowing where the children are is basically a form of coercive control in itself. It is like a long-term coercive control. It's a way to torment the partner. Daphne, put a thumbs up when you're ready. And it prevents closure for the other parent. So why coercive control is hard to see afterwards? People often expect, so basically people expect something different than what it actually looks like. So the controller in the relationship afterwards may appear calm, cooperative, and even helpful. They can control their outward emotions extremely well. So that was one thing that stuck out to me when I was doing this video, was that they can appear cooperative and cool and calm and in control. I don't know. And that's in regards to how someone would behave if they were responsible for 2 missing children. And they can frame themselves as victims. And they focus on their own suffering rather than the children. They avoid direct answers while appearing compliant. Do you know how many people in this case behave that way? Like, this can actually apply to so many characters that have inserted themselves in this case. This is because, and this is what really sticks out to me, coercive control is calculated, not chaotic. So, how a controlling man might behave after a partner leaves. Possible behaviors include, but are not limited to, sudden emotional collapse or rage, intense self-pity, such as comments as, I've lost everything, fixation on the ex-partner's actions, blaming the partner for consequences, attempts to reassert relevance or authority, minimizing concern for others' pain, needing to be seen as reasonable or the one wronged, performing cooperation rather than engaging honestly. Some may also insert themselves into searches or narratives, seek sympathy or validation, or focus on how events affect them and not the children. Again, when you hear those types of behaviors, it really does apply to a lot of different people in this case. And I'm not saying that women aren't behind or responsible for coercive control in other relationships, but in this particular case, the amount of men who exhibit coercive control habits is astounding. And there is a real correlation between the men involved in this case and them playing the victim, playing the hero, playing the I'm cooperative, I'm doing everything I can. There really seems to be large amount surrounding this case, in my opinion. So I'm going to finish up this video and then I'm going to call it a night because I have to go pick up my daughter. But I'll probably be back in a couple of days to have to rebuke whatever bullshit people come out with in the next few days. But yeah, just let me finish off this video. I know it's kind of not up everyone's alley, but again, coercive control is hidden abuse. It's not something that everybody notices. Doesn't leave bruises. It leaves scars that you can't see. Others may withdraw completely. Okay. So why this matters for Jack and Lilly Sullivan without like assigning blame or anything like that. This is just based on statistics and previous cases that involve this sort of thing. So it helps investigators recognize non-obvious risk factors. It explains why children can vanish without chaos. It challenges myths about how guilty people behave. And it centers power dynamics, not just opportunity. In missing children cases, professionals will often ask who lost control recently, who benefited emotionally or psychologically from silence, who had motive tied to power rather than gain. So if you think of all the situation, the entire situation involving Jack and Lily's home life, I think it's reasonable to say if the staff sergeant in charge, who also is a behavior analyst, says that there was the factor that the mother was experiencing a controlling environment, I feel as though I'm safe to say that she was a victim of coercive control. That doesn't mean that she didn't have any involvement or that she did have involvement. I'm saying that she, in my opinion, was a victim of coercive control. And yes, just to be clear, that doesn't mean that coercive control is the reason why Jack and Lilly disappeared, but it's a contributing factor, I believe. So that was one of I wanted to show that as a reminder to everyone as to why I've always sort of gone the way I have. I get a lot of criticism for being an advocate for Malaya. I get a lot of criticism for my criticism of Daniel and other people in this case. However, I'm an advocate for women and children. That's what I do. That's what I've done. And I will continue to do that. I think that there's a lot of things that people don't understand about the dynamics of relationships, and that people who have never been in a situation like that understand. So I always try to shed light on things that people hide in the darkness. And regardless of whether you think Malaya had something to do with it, whether you think Daniel had something to do with it, whether you think they wandered off or they were abducted, the dynamics within the home at 1407 Gerlach Road are being considered by the major crime unit. And if they're considering it, then I'm going to look at it. It's going to be something that I'm going to consider with regards to their disappearance and how that would be a factor. We discussed many times on lives previously the factors that contributed to their disappearance, and there's no denying them. We had CPS involvement, we had domestic violence, we had poverty issues, we had all sorts of things that were going on in the property. So those are all contributing factors as to why Jack and Lilly are missing right now. I don't know what happened. I don't pretend to know what happened. I know what theories that I've covered and which ones are higher up on my list than others. But it really bothers me to see so many women taking down other women. And it also really bothers me seeing other women allow men to take down other women and giving them the platform to do so. And such is the toxicity of YouTube. I've always said to those that are close to me that I give what I get. So if you get the wrath of Shan, it's because you've thrown it my way. And I spent a lot of my life not sticking up for myself. And now I do. So on that note, I'm going to love you all and leave you. I'm going to go pick up my child and smoke my last cigarette of the evening and chill out. Because as you all know, it takes a lot to actually put together lives, gathering the information and putting it all in one place. But I do want to thank all of you for coming into my life. Honestly, you all give me the motivation to keep going, and I do have the best chat that there is out there. I don't care what anybody says. I block for a reason because I don't want toxic crap in my chat and people pushing misinformation. And that's what the people that I block do. They come in here to push a narrative. It's not because they're asking questions. It's not because I don't want to have a debate. It's because they're pushing bullshit in my chat and I don't want people reading it. So that is what it is. But I love you all, and I will see you on the next live. And thanks everyone who was given jewels. And remember, it's Jack and Lilly. That is why I have this channel, despite all the drama that gets discussed in my channel. What I try to do is actually just eliminate the bullshit that's out there. It's hard to keep on top of, but someone's got to do it, and nobody is. People are just sad individuals. All right. I'll see you all on the next one.